Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my next guest is a well-known media personality in Western Canada and has his own radio show, Jason Gregor Show, which can be heard weekdays on Sports 1440 in good old Edmonton, Alberta. As one of the voices of Oilers Nation, his show, of which I am a co-host on Tuesdays and Thursdays, features many guests with all different backgrounds and has a knack for educating audiences with good straight sports talk while simultaneously entertaining fans with hot takes and cool segments like Ryan's rant around the NHL and 5 questions. He is a straight shooter, an awesome Albertan, a tantalizing talker, a deadly dad, a fine friend, a good guy. He's in the know, and he's got his own show. He's met with elation in Oilers Nation. His glasses are red, and he's an awesome dad. Want to know Moa? He's an uncle to Noah. He has a nice bike and is great on the mic. TR they call me, and he'd be JG. Folks, with cock-a-doodle-doo comes a bacon and egger. Please welcome to my show, my pal Jason Gregor. Here he is.
Well, TR, that's the greatest intro I've ever had, buddy. Frick, I might have to get a copy of that one. I love it.
Well, you deserve it, my friend, and thank you. Before we even start, so most people listening to my show would definitely be aware of Oilers Nation, but there's always some new listeners. And the Jason Gregor Show, I mean. And some people might listen to me talk about it, but they've never actually listened. So I appreciate it. Being on your show forces me to stay up with modern, with the game and analyze it and things that are happening minute to minute, as opposed to my podcast, which I love, but I just kind of tell stories. And it's mostly with ex-players. I got Dave McCarthy on last week. Now yourself. Like to get some takes. But thank you very much for trusting me and having me on your show for the past couple of years.
Oh, buddy, it's been great ever since we met on the bus in Edmonton at the Scotiabank Pro-Am. I think we sat having drinks and just. I remember you were done and you were thinking about what to get in. And it had a little tidbits of media. I've done a lot of stuff, obviously my own show, but running my business side of it and doing the rundown on DFO and lots of other stuff. I lucked out. So, I was very excited when you agreed to come on. We have a lot of fun. So personality is needed. Obviously education helps in understanding sports, but you need a little personality. It can't be dry toast. And as anybody who listens to your pod knows, there's no shortage of personality on TR.
Thank you. Now, how did you get started? Because we're always on and we're talking live, and I don't think I've ever really gotten into that. Like, you must have started somewhere. Were you an aspiring hockey player? I know you played sports growing up. At what point did you say, I want to report on this. I want to be a member of the media?
It's a good question. I played like low level junior, nothing earth-shattering. I never had that passion. I never wanted to be an NHL player. Now, I probably wasn't good enough anyway, but I never had you got to have that ingrained in you to do it, right? And that wasn't me. I loved animals. I loved the farm. I loved other things. I liked reading. I liked writing. I liked talking. I'm pretty outgoing. So I kind of always wanted to do what I'm doing. But I was playing junior hockey, low level. I'm working in Alberta, so shocking. I was in the oil field, and when I was done playing, I work in the oil field, and I have the utmost respect for anybody who works in the oil field. Very blue collar. I got a farm background, TR. So the one thing I'm I can work with anybody, right? So I'm not going to get outworked very often. I'll roll up my sleeves and work. That's just, you grow up on a farm, you just work. You don't even know why you're supposed to. You're just like, I got to pick rocks for 4 freaking hours. All right, I'm picking rocks for 4 hours.
Brothers and sisters?
Yeah, my older brother was a way better player. Like Noah's dad, he played minor pro, won a national championship out in your neck of woods at Acadia in '93.
Nice.
Like, they're probably one of the greatest youth sports teams ever.
Yeah.
He played minor pro for a while. John Brophy was his coach. You got some great stories. Played in Birmingham and other places like that. But like, he was always better hockey player than I was, no question. So I was working in the oil field, TR, and really it just came down to, I needed a change. There's a little place in Alberta called Killam, Alberta. And I worked in oil field doing ultrasonic testing for downhole drill pipe. And luckily enough, I had a little bit of common sense. So I got to be my own operator. And, then I had guys working underneath me. And in the summertime, though, at premium oil field inspection, they'd kind of lay off some people. So then all the operators had to work together. So then you have to share a room, right? Like, for years, I never shared a room with anybody. So, I got shared with this another guy, Jason Beatty. I'll never forget his name. And dude, this guy Remember Fred Flintstone when he used to snore and he'd bounce out of his bed and then he'd bounce back
yes,
up?
I do.
Well, that's this guy, dude. I still remember it vividly. There was NHL playoffs. The first night, there's nothing on, so I go
What
to bed
year
early.
is this?
This was in 1999.
Wow.
Yeah, 1999. So
you remember this must have been one fucking hell of a sawn log,
dude. And you like honestly, I'm not even
experience.
joking when I say Freddie Flintstone. So the first night I go, well, the next night there's playoffs on, so of course I'm watching. I was always a sports nut, and this guy goes to sleep, and dude, like I never heard anybody snore like this, right? Like the game's over, like when the game's on, it's not bothering me that much. Now I try to fall asleep. Like I'm throwing pillows at him. Finally, at 5 a.m, at 4 a.m, I take my duvet off my bed. I go into the hotel bathroom, and it's actually a pretty big bathroom, and I lay it down like a sleeping bag. I roll it up like a burrito, then it roll over. I'm laying under the sink because it was that much room in there. And I'm laying under the sink, and I'm looking up, and I'm like, fuck, there's got to be more to life than this. Like, I don't want to do this, right? Like, I don't want to be here when I'm 40. So I literally came home. My mom was super educated, has her master's, doctorate, and all that stuff. And I'm like, Mom, I want to go on radio and television. Where do I got to go? What do I got to do? So we looked it up, and I applied at Nate. I had to bite the bullet. I had to upgrade TR. I'm freaking 27 years of age. I got to go back to high school. It's called, at Nate. And I had to upgrade some high school courses to do it. Like, not that I did it. I took English, math, social, and it's still to this day, my biggest regret in life. I got 99% in math, 30 upgrading. I got one wrong in the final. God, like it doesn't matter in the grid scheme of life, but it would have been cool to say I got 100% in one class. But I went back and got in, and then I started in January of 2000 at Nate in radio and television. And man, I had pictures on my wall of working in the oil field, and I loved it and I respected it, but I was like, I don't want to go back there. And so that was my motivation, and it worked out really well. Third semester in, a legend in sports radio. I grew up with John Short, and I got a job working part-time with him, and that's really when it started. So my first on-air shift was with John in January of 2001. So coming up on 25 years, man, and it's been a wild ride. And I've owned my own company since 2005. I didn't even know you could do that. No one really does it, but I've rented my airtime from the station, and now I own like 12 hours of the station here in Edmonton and hired contractors out to work, and we own the airtime, and it's been really good. And it got me into other things. We owned Oilers Nation before we sold it, and I've done a few other things. So yeah, it kind of turned into an entrepreneur who has no business background. Like I could tell you stories, man. I literally started my business on an Excel spreadsheet with like 3 columns. This is how much I have to pay the station. This is how much I have to pay my producer. This is how much I like to pay myself. So I got to figure out a way to bring in that much money, and away I went.
Wow. Interesting. And it's funny. A lot of people that find what they want to do, not everybody does, and we're fortunate that way. You look back and you can tie it to something like really, it's funny that does Jason Beattie even realize how much of a pivotal role that he played in your life? I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
but
shout out to Beattie, man. He's a great guy, but terrible snore. God, his
and
wife
you remember the 99%. 25 years later, a quarter century later, and those two things stand out. It means you're a motivated dude. That's great. I didn't know that stuff. Some of it, not all. So far here this year at Oilers camp, you're there. I'm assuming you're hands-on. I've heard Savoy's having a decent camp. Other than go on your show and kind of pay attention by osmosis. I'm doing so much. I don't really know what's going on at Oilers camp. So how's it been so far? Very early days.
Well, it was just rookie camp. They had they have physicals and all that, eye tests and everything today. And then they'll be on the ice on Thursday, the 18th. And so the big story is going to be, because Zach Hyman's not going to be ready. He won't be he's skating on his own, but his wrist hasn't healed enough yet for him to skate with the team. He's close. I don't think he's going to be ready to start the season. He might miss a week or 2 weeks. We'll see. So, the first day of camp is going to be, who's going to get to play with McDavid. And I think Matt Savoy is going to get a chance, the rookie. I think Adam Henrique, that's going to be a change. I think Henrique's going to play left wing this year. I think Nugent Hopkins is going to be their third line center or second line center when Draisaitl plays the odd shift with McDavid. But there's some openings on the right wing with Hyman out, at least for a week or two. Some guys will, to start the season, will have a chance to play with McDavid. There's David Tomasek, the guy who led the Swedish Elite League TR in points last year. 2 years ago, he led it in goals. So he's a right shot center, big dude, 6'2.5", 210.
Nice.
He'll either be a bottom 6 center, or he'll get a chance, I think, in the preseason to see how he does, with one of McDavid or Draisaitl. Just because I say one thing, TR, this guy can shoot the puck. Like, he has an absolute bomb. Like, it was funny. I was trying to go through like Edmonton having right wingers who could really, like a shooter, a pure shooter. Like Zach Hyman scored 50 goals, but Zach Hyman's not a shooter. You know what I mean? Like he scores around the net. He's unreal deflector, but he's not ripping shots for you. Edmonton really hasn't had a right shot shooter in like forever. And really even a left shot shooter, right? Thomas, I don't know if he'll be that guy, but I'll say this. He can really shoot the puck. So I'm kind of intrigued by him. He might be a center. We'll see. Trent Frederick's going to either play center or right wing this year. You know, Mangiapane's new to the team. On defense, there's not going to be much. Ekholm's going to play with Bouchard. Jake Wallman's going to play the right side with Nurse. Kulak's your third pair lefty, and then it's either going to be Emberson or Stetcher. So there's not a lot going on D. It's more so going to be where do guys fit in the puzzle on up front on forward.
Interesting. Tim from Sudbury wants to know, Mr. Gregor, right now, let's fast forward 8 months, first game of the playoffs. Do you see Pickard and Skinner being the Oilers' two goalies?
Ooh, good question. I think there's a chance that they might upgrade potentially the backup, but I think Stuart Skinner will be one of the goalies, and I think he'll be the starter. They went to 2 Stanley Cup Finals with Skinner. I know he has the odd bad game, that's no question, but I think like the LA Kings' first 2 games in the Oilers last year, TR. Heck, they could have put Marty Brodeur in net. They were losing those games. They were awful, right? The team in front of them. They gave up 27 high danger chances in 2 freaking games, right? They only gave up 14 in the next 4 when Pickard came in. So I'm going to say that one of them will be there. But I do think it's going to be Skinner.
Interesting, yeah. And I find, we're all rooting for him. The guy's comfortable with the team. I mean, look at the numbers; they're pretty good. But I think it's these these magnified errors because of the situation that people. And I understand the backlash, but I'm with you. I really hope that it works out for him. And it's tough.
And I wouldn't be TR. I wouldn't be shocked if both are there because Calvin Pickard is so, and you understand glue guys, right? Like it's hard to explain. And Edmonton is a team that I think is, they need some humor in the room. They need some guys who can kind of bring down the temperature. They're a pretty focused group. They're a pretty intense group, but you need some laughter. You need some levity in your room at times. And Calvin Pickard does that. Like he is very funny and very witty. And I know that he brings, like he can make light of situation when it needs to be making light of, right? And they don't have a ton of those guys. I hear Wallman's got a little bit of it. Mangiapane maybe. Curtis Lazar is probably one of the most positive, upbeat human beings you'll ever meet. So, maybe he can do it. We'll see. But that is the, and the other thing is Pickard wins games. Like look at his record when he's on the, like, I don't care. Say at the end of the day, what's the most important stat? W. And he wins. So he could be there too.
Interesting. Martinique in San Jose wants to know. She says San Jose Sharks are going to be improved, but is there anywhere to go in the standings in such a great division? Do you think, in other words, do you think San Jose could elevate in the standings, or are they? Because I think they're going to be better. I don't know what you think, but there's a young core that's growing.
Yeah, like they'll be better, but how much better? So, there's Vegas, Edmonton. They're not going to catch them. Calgary, Vancouver, probably not. I think Anaheim will improve. I think Seattle's the team that maybe they could catch. Like I'm not a big fan of what Seattle's got right now or moving forward. And honestly, Seattle's a team that needs Gavin McKenna, if we're being bluntly honest here. Like, God, but even if I'm a San Jose, if you're a Shark fan, Martinique, you would not be upset if San Jose won the Gavin McKenna draft lottery. I'm telling you, like this is not the year to make a big step.
Yeah,
and give yourself lower. Like you can never ask players to lose. And the San Jose Sharks are going to compete, and they've got a lot of guys on expiring contracts. Maybe they can trade them at the deadline for picks. We'll see. They're still rebuilding, so they want to improve. And I love Celebrini as a player. I really do. Like I think San Jose Shark fans, like that guy is going to be a hell of a player moving forward. But they need a lot more, right? Like you can't just say him and Will Smith and okay, now we're leading out of the promised land. It ain't happening, right? Like. So they need a little bit more. I could see them, maybe they jump up to, 75 points, something like that, maybe, right? Great. But I don't think they want to improve to 85 and put themselves like, I know the Islanders won the draft lottery last year, so anything can happen, but I'm still playing the odds, man. And I'd rather be a bottom 5 team if I was the Sharks for at least one more year.
Totally agree. And what do you think about Chicago? Which team do you think is further along, given that they kind of tanked at the same time? Everybody's comparing Celebrini and Bedard. I'm not quite doing that. There's different situations and a lot of pressure on Bedard. I still think he's going to be better than people are kind of giving him shit for now. But outside of that, I'm just saying Chicago, they have similar plans. Who do you think's further ahead?
So quick rant. I think it's bullshit that people, how they evaluate Bedard, because the same people grossly overrated him, overranked him by claiming he was going to be the next McDavid. That was so foolish and ridiculous. And now he's the one who has to live up to some BS
I know,
assessment. Man. Like it's a joke. So I think Connor Bedard, I'm very curious, TR, honestly. I think Bedard might be better as a winger in the NHL moving forward. And I'll be curious to see if that ever happens in Chicago. But Celebrini, I think honestly might be a better center when it's all said and done. But Bedard's a better shooter for sure. Chicago, what they have better than San Jose is they've got better young defensemen. And if having good defensemen is going to help you. So they got some pretty big guys back there. So I think Chicago's better set up there moving forward. But this season, San Jose might be better as a team because they still got, they got better veteran proven guys on the back end. But I love Chicago's young guys way more at this point than I do like their defense than I do San Jose. So I think both of those teams are probably going to be in the, 13, 14, 15, 16 range in the Western Conference, probably maybe 14, 15, 16.
Pittsburgh to me seemed like one of, if not the only open sellers. And clearly only 16 teams can make the playoffs. So what do you like a team like Philadelphia to me? I don't see much there. And even the new players coming in, I don't really know if they fit, but yet they're going for it, or unless I've been misinformed. Who else do you think is realistically out? I mean, Buffalo, but they're going to tell you that they're going for the cup again, but they continue to bottom out. I mean, what do you think? Do you see any movers and shakers coming from down here and going up here?
Well, not from like way outside. Like Philadelphia got Rick Tocchet, so you know what, the Flyer fans, he'll get a longer runway than some other coaches, but I think it might be a tough year. Michkov can maybe take a step there, but Philly's okay. Like, Philly had what, I think 76 points. Could they get to 82? Probably. All right, so that's an improvement, but it's not like, hey, we're a playoff team improvement. Pittsburgh, hey, TR, I've said this for over a year. Sidney Crosby would be better off not finishing his career in Pittsburgh. Now, before Pittsburgh fans freak out, I get you're in love with the past. I understand it. But the future with Crosby is never the past with future. It's not with Crosby. It's not happening. You're not winning cups again with Sid. Unfortunately, you just don't have enough surrounding him, right? You just don't. So if I look at them and Malkin's in his last year, and he might get dealt at the deadline because, you don't want to lose him for nothing. So, and why would you re-sign him at his age other than nostalgia? So, or maybe he only wants to play in Pittsburgh. Maybe he'll go and play in KHL. I have no idea. I don't know Malkin very much, but Crosby, we saw he played in the Four Nations. He won again. Pittsburgh hasn't won a playoff series since they won the Cup in 2017, right? Like that's a long time. Yeah, they made the playoffs the first few years, but they lost in the first round. Now they haven't made the playoffs in 3 years. Like, I don't think Sidney Crosby wants to end his career the last decade not playing the playoffs. So that's why I think now you watch. He's going to say all the right things. He just said it again. Hey, I love Pittsburgh. And two things can happen. You can love Pittsburgh, but then realize, God, we're not going to win in Pittsburgh. And he can do a flurry and come back and sign a contract and maybe even do a PTO for a game and retire as a Penguin, and everybody will love him again. Don't get me wrong. They'll love him again, right? Boston Bruins fans, do they still love Ray Bourque? Yes. And he won a cup in Colorado. So I think it's going to happen this year. I think Crosby's going to get dealt away from Pittsburgh, and there's going to be no shortage of teams who want him. And that's going to help Pittsburgh have to do what they have to do eventually, whether they have Crosby or not. They're rebuilding, they're retooling. So you might as well help Sid and help yourself by getting some assets to help your rebuild go along. And because the problem is, TR, they've yet to commit to it. And I've studied rebuilds for a long time. If you want to do a real rebuild, it's like 8 to 10 years.
Yeah. Mark in Edmonton in oil country wants to know, will there be much turnover on the Canadian Olympic team, in your opinion? And does Bouchard have a chance?
Oh, God, Bouchard has a chance for sure. Just look at how he plays in the playoffs. I don't care how he plays on a random night in November. Look at Evan Bouchard in the playoffs. The guy's a killer. His last 3 years have been unreal. Point production. Last year, Ekholm gets hurt. He's playing all these minutes. There's no security blanket. He's great. So, look at his goals for, goals against in the postseason when the games matter. So, yeah, I think he definitely has a chance to make that team. And I'd probably have him on the team because I've seen what this guy does in big game situations. Like, he elevates his game. There's no question. So I think that turnover, hey, you won, but you always want to make change. I think there's going to be 4 or 5 new faces on the team for sure this year than last year. And, just because that's the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
Guys are going to, Mark Scheifele, the way he played, he'll be in the mix. If Zach Hyman's healthy, he'll be in the mix. Bouchard, we mentioned Celebrini. He could be a long shot, but not a shock. If Bedard's lighted it up, there's a chance there too. So there are some guys who I don't think did a whole bunch. And so there'll be some changes. Like, look at Thomas Harley. He wasn't even on the team to start, TR. And then they got injuries. Thomas Harley ends up playing. He's playing great. So, you got all the depth on the blue line, right? Like, Noah Dobson could play well in Montreal and be in the forefront and have him. So I'm going to say 4 or 5 guys for sure. And I'm not sold that all same 3 goalies will come back. Like, how the hell's, like, are you telling me Darcy Kemper can't make that team? Give me a break. Yeah. He could make that team. Like, Stuart Skinner could play lights out for 40 games and make that team. So I think there's going to be at least 5 new faces.
Yeah, and it's so tough. I get that question a lot. I'm like, well, the first, I know they all went to a camp that wasn't even really a camp. Like,
no, it wasn't
this
camp.
First part of the year, this is the camp. Like, of course, some guys are going to get more leash, but God, people can go on a tear. It's the only or the other way. To me, it's the only reason that Hyman wasn't there last year. He had a slow start, but he should be a shoo-in, I think.
And sadly, a top player on Canada, US is probably going to get injured if we just look at the odds before the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. Just a couple more, and then we got a rapid fire round. I appreciate your time. So Lane Hudson's dad came out recently and spoke, about how technically he could play for Canada. I really think if he had his time back, he wouldn't have said it out loud. I don't think he had a bone to pick or anything. He was just caught, and sometimes you say things because it put the kid in a bad position. But do you think if he was thinking Canada, that he would even make Canada this year?
No, he wouldn't. And that, hey, that's everybody gets the shiny new thing. We're talking the Olympics, the best of the best. Yeah. And he's got 1 NHL year under his belt, which is really good. But size does matter the deeper you go in the postseason and the deeper you go in the Olympic tournament. So when you've got a lot of experienced guys who have played in big games over, a young rookie, like maybe Lane Hudson could make it as the number 8 defenseman just to be there and experience it in the practice and feel the emotion. That would be awesome. And I think in the future, he'll be a guy on Team USA. But here's the thing about Team USA. And by the way, Lane Hudson came out and said, hey, I'm an American. I want to play for Team USA. And so, you know what? Dad's little flex was a bad flex. And hey, people make mistakes. I'm not going to try to bury his father. Dude, if I had a quote of every stupid thing I said, then you know what? I probably wouldn't be on radio. So everybody's entitled to say something. And I'm not in the hunt culture to try to get rid of somebody just because they've said one little thing about, hey, he does have his Canadian citizenship. Like, I kind of laughed and thought it was funny. Yeah. But look at Team USA and look at their blue line. Like, Quinn Hughes is unbelievable, not overly big. Adam Fox, unreal, not overly big, right? Like, they got Werenski, like, as good as Lane Hudson is, they got 3 American defensemen who are offensive, who are better than him right now.
Yeah.
So then you throw in Jacob Slavin, who might be the best pure defender in the NHL. So I don't see room for him on either team right now, but I think he'll be a guy there in the future. And if I'm a Montreal Canadian fan, I want Lane Hudson he's going to be in his second year and he's a smaller guy. Those 2 weeks off could be massive for his body to rest and recover and be ready.
Thank you. Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going, look, he's going to be on it for eternity, like a long time, man. We're going to, for next 2 decades, it's up to him if he doesn't get hurt. So if it's me, I'm going, okay, I'm going to use these 2 weeks, man. And I don't care who you are, you can use that. Okay, this last question comes from 90% of my inbox. When would you start to panic about the Connor McDavid contract? Or lack of?
Panic, honestly, I wouldn't really start to panic until you get to the playoffs and he hasn't signed. Connor McDavid has time on his side, so why not use it? I know that. See, it's because Connor McDavid is doing this for him. And I like fans, it's hard to understand it because, hey, and trust me, I think fans at times get underappreciated by pro athletes, especially in the NHL where it's still a gate-driven league. And they pay a lot of money to go to games. They watch NHL hockey. They pay for the NHL network, yada, yada. They help facilitate their contracts. Make no mistake about it. So I understand where Oiler fans like, what the hell? This guy should sign, man. I don't need the stress of this. Because it is harder for a fan because they have no say, they have nothing, and they worry about their team. Whereas I honestly don't believe McDavid's stressed about it. He's going to get if McDavid wants a contract, he gets a contract tomorrow, right? Like he's not entering the season like a fourth line player who's like, God, I'd really like to get a contract extension just for security, right? Like, hey, 2 more years at $900,000 or $1 million. That's very different than Connor McDavid, who's like, hey, I want to sign for this much. Okay, great. We'll pay you that much, right? Like it's a very different situation. So honestly, though, I still believe Connor McDavid will sign an extension in Edmonton because I try to view everything rationally. I remove emotion and I look and say, okay, he's on a team that's made it to the Stanley Cup final twice in a row. He's on that team has a guy who arguably in the regular season has actually been better than him the last 2 years in Leon Draisaitl, who is another top 5 player in the league. He's a top 3-4 forward in the NHL. So the only city when I look and say, if I'm going off of where gives me a better chance to win, I'm not sure there's better chances, right? Florida, but you can't go there. They don't have the money. So no one's better than Edmonton the last few years other than Florida, right? Can't go there. So where can you go that's better? No one. So who can give you an even chance? All right, we can eliminate half the league in 3 seconds, right? Then we can probably eliminate another 6 teams pretty easily that make the playoffs. St. Louis, Minnesota, Fusetcher, thanks, not the same. So then you get down to Colorado, Tampa Bay. I'm not even sure if there's anyone after that, to be honest, TR. So I look at Colorado, you're like, McKinnon, Makar, all right. Bouchard, Draisaitl, pretty damn close. Okay, I can see that rationally. But then I look even at Tampa, and I'm like, well, Vasilevsky and Hedman and Kucherov, point. All right, I like that one a lot. But do I want to go there? There's lots of other things that go into play. So I think at the end of the day, TR, he'll sign in Edmonton, but it'll be a short-term deal, which is actually a smart deal. You know me, I've been pushing for 5 years that the NHL should have max term deals of 5 years after the age of 20. Yeah. Right? I've always said that. The NHL, they got smarter. They went to 7 on the new CBA, and I won't be surprised in 4 or 8 years, it'll be down to 6. So, because it's not the superstars I worry about. It's the other guys who are good, but signed for 8 years, and the last 2-3 years, their deals suck. If it was 5, it'd be like, okay, the guy aged out. No problem. We move on. But McDavid will sign for a 3 or 2 year deal because the salary cap's going up so much. Why would I limit that? Like, I don't have to be the highest paid player, whatever, but there's a respect factor in play, right? If you're Connor McDavid and you look at my percentage of cap should bare minimum be similar to what it was. So, he'll sign for 16 and a half, whatever. But here's my one wild card. I wouldn't be stunned because Connor McDavid wants to win if he signed and says, I'll just take Leon's deal for 2 years at 14 mil. It wouldn't shock me if he did that.
Yeah. That's interesting. And it's a not hot take at first when you said it, but the more I think about it, I mean, this guy's determined. If there's anybody focused on winning, that it seems this is the dude to do it. So nothing would surprise me either. Okay. Are you ready for rapid fire randoms?
Let's go.
Here we go. Jason Gregor, rapid fire randoms. First question. Death row meal. You've just blown someone's head off in Texas. I don't know why. They pissed you off, whatever it was. But now you're on death row and you've got your last meal. What are you ordering?
Last meal. Oh, God.
It was a little excessive blowing someone's head off, but
hey, if you're going to go out,
go on death row for
go out with a bang. I don't want to go out by accidentally running over someone. No, like that would be horrible too. But we're talking, what?
Let's say you're a folk hero. You took out somebody that it was.
I took out a child pedophile. I wouldn't feel guilty.
Yeah, there you go.
I will. My last meal, I'm going to eat a lot. So I would start. I want a salad because I can digest things better. So I want to start with a salad just because, and I like a good Caesar salad. Not too much creamy sauce though. That's disgusting. Then I'm going to go with mashed potatoes and my mom's homemade gravy, followed by, I'm going to have my wife makes this chicken that is unbelievable with her own special sauce. She doesn't even have a recipe because I've asked for it. She's just in her head. So I get that. And then I'm going to have some peas, and I'm going to follow it up with a slice of plain cheesecake with strawberries, followed by a slice of lemon meringue pie.
Very specific, and I love the mom and wife personal touch. Very unique answer.
Well, you know how it is. Like, there's just certain homemade food that's better. Like, I've been out to nice restaurants, but I will say there's a restaurant in Edmonton that has stuffed pea crostini that's unbelievable. So I might have to see.
You toss it in there. You got nothing to worry about.
If Uccellino could throw that in, I would take it.
Beautiful.
I just don't know if they're going to support a mass murderer. That's the only thing.
Well, I guess if it ever true. That's a big one. That is a big one. They
like, that's a question, TR, to go, like, if you're a restaurant owner and a guy's on death row and he asks for your food, and you're like, well, this guy killed 10 people. Do I give him the food? I don't know.
I honestly, that's food for a good stand-up comedian. That's why I burst out when you said it, because on one hand, like, you could really promote it. Hey, the last 3 guys to go down, they all requested our spaghetti. But
we have killer food. No pun intended.
Yes, there's an angle there. Maybe a rock that's not been overturned yet. Someone's listening. Superpower, you get one. What would you pick?
I could see the future in sporting events, so then I could pick a winner. I'd want to be like Back to the Future.
Biff.
Yeah. But be a cooler person than Biff, like, not a jabroni.
Yeah. Biff, what was his last name? Biff.
Oh,
how do we not?
I don't know. I'm the worst.
I can't remember.
I know Marty McFly, but I don't know Biff.
Yeah. I keep saying Biff Henderson because Biff Henderson used to be on David Letterman once in a while. It was one of his co-workers that he'd bring out. And anyway, I can't get it. But anyway, Biff, we all know. Future seeing sports gambler Biff, who made a lot of money in Back to the Future too. Your favorite non-hockey athlete ever?
Non-hockey athlete ever. You know what? I'm going to go, because I got to interview him. It's still one of my favorite interviews for an hour. I'm going Donovan Bailey. Plus, I remember exactly where I was in '96 when he won the gold medal at the Olympics in Atlanta. And then when he kicked Johnson's ass and called him a chicken, it was unreal. It was like one of the first times a Canadian stood up with a little bit of swagger. So I'm going Donovan.
Beautiful. Nice pick. Favorite jersey ever. It doesn't have to be hockey. Any sports
jersey. Not even
jersey.
Close, buddy. This is the easiest question of all time. The Hartford Whalers.
And a very underrated jersey. And a lot of people that look at the retro, they like it, but they don't realize the full emblem of the H and the W are both in there. I only realized that recently while skating with some younger, and they're like, no way. And I was explaining, I go, doesn't everybody know this? But everybody doesn't know it anymore.
No. Biff Tannen. I'm sure that's his last name.
Harlark, I was way off. Well, the T. Yeah. Biff Tannen. God, that's not mentioned much in the movies then. Who would you want to play in a movie? Any actual person, or I guess you could play Superman. Who would you want to play in a movie?
Like, if I could be in a movie, well, I don't know if I could do it as well of him, but I'd love to be Bourne, man. I thought Matt Damon kicked ass. Renner was pretty good, but the Bourne movies, series is one of my favorites. So I just like kicking ass, taking no names, and he's a nice guy too. Like, so I kind of like him in that one. So yeah, if I could be Bourne, that would be awesome. Just walking around, kicking ass, taking names, getting rid of the wrong people. So
just constantly too, and everybody rooting for you.
But also, TR, if I could, I guess, for an animated movie.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You got to do something. There's got to be a segment that we can use that somehow. The Donald Duck voice. Your favorite car ever? Not necessarily one you owned. It could be.
Oh, buddy, a 1982. Well, my favorite car I ever owned was a 1982 Dodge Daytona. Unfortunately, wrote it off in a terrible accident when I was at fault. But I was young at the time when I got it, and it was nice. The owner who had it, he was like, his wife drove it, and she barely drove it. It was in immaculate condition. And you got to remember, like, this was in like late 80s, early 90s. And like the car would talk to you, like your door is ajar, all these sorts of things. I just thought it was unreal. So that was my favorite car to drive. But if I could get a car, I'd want to get a Lamborghini. And I could rent one. I would never probably own it, other than like maybe buy it for a summer and drive it. Like, I'd like a Lambo, and I'd want it to be like bright orange or lime green.
Interesting. More very, very cool and to the point specifics with your answers. What did you want to be when you were 8 years old?
Veterinarian and a police officer. And I got to do the first one a bit because we grew up at the farm, right? And when my dad passed away in 2000, I basically helped my mom, our family farm of 50 years. We just got rid of it. But I ran the cows for years, man. And I took some veterinarian courses. Like I know how to preg test cows, right? Like I've done, I can do it. I could do the start of a cesarean, but I'm not great at the sewing them back up part. So but yeah, I got to do a lot of the vet stuff, man. Like, hey, I have the big sleeve, your preg test. Like, I know I used to joke with some of my city friends. I'd bring them out to our farm and they'd be like, what the hell are you doing out here? But it was honestly, like, if I could retire today, TR, just go get a ranch and have 300 head of cattle, that would be the dream for me. Like I would never be bored. I'd love it every day. But I knew when I got married, my wife never wanted to live in a farm, and that's okay. I knew it going in, but that would be, and I told her, I said, well, maybe I'll retire and I'll just buy a farm, 10 minutes out of town, and we'll still keep our place in town, and I'll just go there every day. So it's unreal. So veterinarian, buddy, I loved it.
I'm blown away. When you always refer to the farm, not even always, but you have a bunch of times. And honestly, I just figured like a chicken coop out back.
No,
I don't know, like, just
we had chickens for sure,
maybe with lots of grass and a little bit of veggies.
I remember as a kid, man, like the first time, like I remember, like you behead the chicken or the rooster when you're gonna cook them and stuff. And I still remember we did one of the roosters, and I was like 8 years old. And when you cut their head off, they'll walk around with no head for like 5 or 6 seconds because the blood's still pushing through. And it's I know people are like, that is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. But when you're a kid, and I wasn't scared of it, I was just like, this is kind of like so freakishly amazing. So yeah, no, we had pigs and, butchered pigs and cows and horses. I wasn't a big fan of, really. I could herd cows better on my feet than ever with I'm sure a good horse, but yeah, we had all animals, man. It was awesome. I loved it. And like seriously, to be a vet, when you get to birth cow and you get to save them and stuff, like, kind of feel like you're a doctor, but you're just helping them out. And so that was good.
Yeah, man, that's wild. I didn't know you were like, farm is just a very vague term. It can mean, there's a whole world there that could be a farm. So I thought it was minimal, but it's clearly not. Would you go into space if given the opportunity?
Let's solve the problems on Earth first, rather than worry about creating more somewhere else.
One band you'd love to see that you haven't?
Band or just any artist?
Any artist, actually.
I would have loved to have seen Elvis with my dad. That'd have been the greatest.
That's a great answer. Senior met him. He played in Kalamazoo. Yeah, my dad.
Buddy.
My dad waited, like, they had practice, and then he waited, and he like worked out, and then he waited and waited and waited because technically they were using the room, and Elvis walked in with his posse. Senior went over and.
Dude, that's unreal. Like my dad, when I played hockey growing up as a teenager, back when we had cassettes, so I'm dating myself, but nowadays you make your iPad, whatever. And so the deal I had with my dad was on the way to the game, because we lived on the farm, so it was always at minimum 20-minute drive either way, even for practice, usually a lot longer if we're going for games. I got to listen to the music I wanted to kind of pump me up for the game. But on the way home, he listened to his music and introduced me to a lot of stuff. And that's where I learned about Elvis Presley. And I'm telling you, man, like it was phenomenal. I remember just like In the Ghetto, still one of the greatest songs ever. There were so many of his tunes that he sounded different. And I'm like, this is the same guy. And it always blew me away. So you know what I do now with my son? Like I kind of have the same thing. And I introduced him to some of my music, which is obviously a little bit of House of Pain and Jump Around and different things like that. But I always still get the Motown, man, like Elvis Presley and Buddy Holly, that, the Pointer Sisters, there's the Temptations. I loved listening to that through my dad. So I try to mix that in a little bit with my son now.
That's great. I'm going to see a Buddy Holly impersonator on Friday night. Yeah, but nice. He's one of my favorites. I think. Yeah. I love the Beatles so much, and I talk about that a lot. But the Beatles loved Buddy Holly because he was one of the first that wrote everything. He wrote 90% of what you're hearing from Buddy Holly, he wrote, and some with the Crickets, but mostly on his own. And that was a rare thing. People like Paul Anka used to write for other people, right? And they would be in the ivory towers wherever and produce a song and then give it to people. And who's going to take this one? Right? That was the way it worked for the most part for a long time. And then Anyway, Buddy Holly, for that reason, and he's one of my favorites. And because he died so young,
Yeah.
I bet you I know more of his songs off by heart than anybody else because he only had
Yeah.
so many.
Well,
He had
him
a
and
lot
Richie,
for someone that
him
died
and
at
Richie
21.
Valens, man, the Big Bopper. Like, what
Yeah.
a brutal plane crash.
What a brutal plane crash. Yeah. Each movie, La Bamba and the Buddy Holly stories, both, even though you know what's going to happen, but it's great. You see that crash
Yeah.
from both different perspectives. Okay, I won't keep you much longer. I got one more question for you. Growing up in oil country, there were some of the best teams of all time. Who would have been your favorite Oiler when you were 10 years old?
Well, everybody loved Gretzky's, right? So I always kind of exclude him because I'm like, you couldn't be a hockey fan and not like respect Wayne. But I was a Glenn Anderson guy. My brother's favorite player is Messier, so I didn't want to copy him. So I liked Anderson. He was reckless. He was ruthless. Like he'd come down that right wing and it purposely accidental stick come across in the face of guys. He went to the net so hard when the nets were like anchored in with cement almost, and he had no fear. So that guy showed up in the playoffs too. Big gamer. So yeah, Glenn Anderson, met Glenn, he's a totally different dude later, but as a player, as a kid, yeah, he was a dynamic player to watch. And by the way, Blaine Stoughton, because I was a huge Hartford Whaler fan as a kid, and I loved battling Blaine Stoughton, man, one of the more unheralded 50-goal scorers.
For sure. Definitely one of. And by the way, Anderson and Tikkanen, so I think that as time passes, they're two of the more underrated players of their era because they were surrounded by so much. But as far as champions go and watch those teams, with those guys playing on them, and a lot of other people get the credit because they were so deep, and they should. But I'm just saying, like Anderson, way underrated, man. Okay, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. Do you have anything to promote or anything before we go other than the Jason Gregor show on Sports 14?
Well, TR, I'm just honored that I got on the pod finally. I got the background here at the Stingray Studios because I know you're a music guy, so that's why I picked this.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah,
the studio for you. If anybody, hey, you know what, listen to TR myself. We're on Sports 1440. You can get us on iHeartRadio, player app, anywhere. On YouTube now, streaming all the time, so you can check it out at Orders Nation or Sports 1440. I write at ordersnation.ca. And also, we just started a new thing, and this is non-hockey, but helping the football team now. So we got elksnation.ca. If you're a football fan, you like little CFL, check that out as well. So.
Okay, thank you very much for doing this, my friend Jason Gregor. We'll talk again soon.
TR, always a pleasure.
There it is, Jason Gregor. Good guy, great program. Check it out. I would listen to Jason before I was involved, so I'm not just promoting for the sake of self-promotion. I'm only on there for a couple hours Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I will be in studio because I have to go to Edmonton anyway, so I'll be there on... If you're listening from Alberta, I'll be there September 30th. That's a Tuesday, I believe. So I'll be in studio, and I'm going to stay for all 4 hours, and we'll have a blast. What else? Okay, that's just about it. Thank you for listening. I'll be Chicklets Cup on just the Thursday, the 25th. I'm going to go down there for that. And then the 26th, 27th, I'll be in Toronto, Ontario for the Princess Margaret ball hockey fundraiser for Easter Seals for a bunch of things, but that's one of the causes. Check my Instagram story, Terry Ryan 2020, for more details. And right after that, I'll be in Edmonton, Alberta for 3 days. I just have a side gig out there, and I'll have lots of free time, and I'm going to stay for a couple of days. So if you're in Edmonton and you want to ask a question or you want to hang out, you want something not hang out, you want something autographed, or you want, to meet your kid or whatever it is, talk about writing books or the Montreal Canadiens or Shoresy or the Growlers or whatever it will be, I'll be in studio with Jason Gregor, and I believe their studio is still in the West Edmonton Mall, but don't quote me on that. Check it out. Anyway, I'd love to meet you. Okay, if you're in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, go to George Street. Why not check out Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, the Martini Bar, the Bull and Barrel, and of course, Greensleeves. If you're going to have a bite to eat, check out the Loose Tie, Blue on Water, and Why Not Wedgwood Cafe, who also do catering on Elizabeth Avenue. You want to work out? Strength and balance for the body and mind can be found on Rope Walk Lane at Ryan Power at Power Conditioning. Carpet Factory, right here in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, laying the carpet for your community. GS Construction, laying the groundwork for your community, if that community happens to be Edmonton, Alberta. Crown Cabinets here in St. John's, just because. Check out Crown Cabinets. Lug Sports. Loves Lug Sports. Loves me Lug Sports. And they've got some great merch. My favorite are the glasses. Check them out ASAP. Take True Hockey. Take what's yours, folks. Take what's yours. Thank you to everybody, Corey Gregory and everybody else at True Hockey who've set me up with some awesome hockey gear and awesome sticks. I absolutely love them. I wouldn't promote them if I didn't actually love them. Thank you, Muggsy Jeans. I loves me Muggsy Jeans as well. Comfort, fit, great to travel in, amongst other things. Loves me Muggsy Jeans. Thanks for listening, folks. Back in just a couple of days with more Tales with TR. Thanks for tuning in.